Elvis Presley's return to the big screen in Elvis Is Back in 1960 felt like a homecoming for fans who had been craving more of the King's charisma and music. But beneath the surface of this seemingly nostalgic moment, things were anything but simple. For Elvis, it was more than just a movie. It was a chance to reconnect with his Memphis roots and his female fans, though that connection was complicated. Anita Wood, one of Elvis's longtime Memphis girlfriends, found herself in a tough spot. Despite Elvis giving her an expensive diamond necklace, she knew marrying him was impossible. Yet she still received love letters from a young Priscilla, who was just 15 at the time. Elvis brushed it off, saying, "She's just a girl," but it was clear Priscilla was captivated by the fame and charm of the king himself. Elvis's journey from a small-town boy to a Hollywood star was remarkable, but it also led him down some strange paths. In 1931, director Norman Taurog, fresh off an Oscar win for Skippy, decided to make a film based on a comic strip. The movie, featuring an 8-year-old Jackie Cooper, pushed ethical boundaries to get young Jackie to cry on cue by threatening to kill a dog. Despite this, Cooper went on to work with Taurog again, though their relationship soured after that first film. Taurog's career took a different turn as he shifted from Oscar-winning films to more commercial ventures. In the 1960s, he found himself directing G.I. Blues, a light-hearted film meant to showcase Elvis's Army days, although the reality was quite different. Elvis spent most of his time partying, a fact that the film tried to gloss over. The movie's credits boasted connections to real military officials, hinting at the film's reliance on military cooperation for authenticity. G.I. Blues portrayed Elvis, renamed Tulsa McLean, as a soldier who did little actual work but was always partying. While the film claimed this was an accurate depiction, the truth was far from it. Elvis really did spend most of his time partying, a fact that the film's producers felt compelled to acknowledge through the credits, listing military advisors to lend some credibility. Meanwhile, Ricky Nelson was also in the military, starring in The Wackiest Ship in the Army. At least Nelson's film had Jack Lemmon in a leading role, giving it a bit more respectability. The film industry during this time was heavily influenced by the rock and roll phenomenon, but many films struggled to capture its spirit authentically. The musical Bye Bye Birdie marked a milestone as the first Broadway show to openly embrace rock and roll, albeit with a parent-friendly twist. The film version, released in 1963, featured Elvis in a cameo as Conrad Birdie, a rock star drafted into the Army. The film's producers tried to negotiate with Elvis for minimal payment, even suggesting a coin flip to decide if he'd perform for free or demand a hefty sum. They chose to walk away from the deal, recognizing the value Elvis brought to the project. In G.I. Blues, Elvis's portrayal of a carefree soldier was a far cry from the reality of his Army experience. The film was shot almost entirely on the Paramount lot, with fake location shots using rear projection. The movie's score was a letdown, with songs that felt disconnected and uninspired. Yet amidst the mediocrity, Wooden Heart surprisingly became a massive hit, topping charts in the UK for weeks, even though it wasn't released as a single in the US. The behind-the-scenes of these films were just as fascinating as the movies themselves. Songwriters and musicians were constantly at work, churning out tunes for Elvis's films. The process was frenzied, with writers under contract to Elvis's publishing companies racing to create demos that could be quickly assembled and refined. This system allowed for a high volume of music, but often resulted in songs that felt hastily put together. Despite the flaws in these films, they captured a moment in time when rock and roll was taking the world by storm. Elvis's presence, even in less than stellar movies, kept fans engaged and excited. As the industry struggled to balance authenticity with commercial success, Elvis remained a constant, a beacon of music and charisma that transcended the limitations of the films he starred in. Elvis Presley's film G.I. Blues is a fun movie that shows off his love for music in different settings. The song Wooden Heart started as a German song and was later given English words by 3 American writers. Elvis sang it beautifully in a puppet show scene, showcasing his talent with instruments like the tuba and accordion. This performance makes one wonder if he would have been perfect on The Muppet Show. Bert Kaempfert, the German bandleader, had a remarkable career. He worked with big names like the Beatles, Elvis, and Frank Sinatra. He turned a simple German folk song into a hit for Elvis and also wrote the classic Strangers in the Night for Sinatra. In GI Blues, we see Elvis recording a new version of Blue Suede Shoes, which ends up causing a playful argument about whether it's the old or new version that's better. This scene shows the ongoing debate among fans about changing classic songs. One of the standout moments in the film is Elvis singing What's She Really Like in the shower without any backing music. This intimate performance highlights his vocal abilities. Another memorable song from the film is Pocket Full of Rainbows, which Elvis sings to Juliette Prowse in a chairlift. Recording this song was challenging because it required him to sing in falsetto, a high voice, which was not his usual style. However, the real gem in GI Blues might be the song Doin' the Best I Can. Written by Pomus and Schumann, this poignant ballad showcases Elvis's emotional depth. Mort Schumann, one of the songwriters, explained that they were inspired by country music great Don Robertson when creating this song. They aimed to capture a similar feeling, and Elvis' recording perfectly encapsulates that. Despite mixed reviews from critics, GI Blues was a huge success around the world. The New York Times noted that the film showed a more mature Elvis, moving away from his earlier, more playful image. The Guardian praised his powerful singing, comparing him to the young Bing Crosby. Although some critics felt Juliette Prowse needed a better role and a more mature partner on screen, Elvis was clearly dedicated to his music. During the making of GI Blues, Elvis also showed his love for classical music, particularly the Italian aria O Sole Mio. His version, influenced by Mario Lanza, showcased his ability to tackle different musical styles. The song's lyrics were rewritten for Elvis by songwriters Aaron Schroeder and Wally Gold, and he aimed to match the high notes of Lanza's recording. Elvis' favorite secular song, It's Now or Never, became a massive hit, spending 5 weeks at the top in the US and becoming his biggest-selling UK single. The song marked his transition from a rock and roll idol to a more serious entertainer. This change was also reflected in his personal life, as he married Vernon Presley's new wife, Dee Stanley, in Alabama. The film also touches on Elvis' newfound love for water skiing, which was so impressive that it influenced a scene in the movie Clambake. His relationship with Sam Cooke, another big name in music, is also mentioned, highlighting the connections within the music industry. Elvis' version of Are You Lonesome Tonight was controversial at the time, with some fans feeling he was selling out. However, this song, along with its B-side, showed Elvis' versatility as a performer. The song became a point of humor in his later life, with Elvis often adding his own funny twists to the lyrics. The story of GI Blues and Elvis Presley's involvement in it highlights his talent, dedication, and the impact he had on the music world. Whether through his films or his music, Elvis left an indelible mark that continues to inspire and entertain people around the world. Let's talk about some interesting stories from Elvis Presley's life, focusing on his movie Flaming Star and what was happening in music and film around that time. Elvis made Flaming Star in 1960. This was a Western movie where he played a character who was half Native American. The movie had some issues, like the songs that were supposed to be in it but didn't make the final cut. Elvis had made a special demo of a song called I Gotta Know for this movie, hoping Elvis would sing it. But there was a twist. Elvis wanted to make sure his own voice was on the record, so he asked if he could do his own version first. This shows how much control Elvis wanted over his music. The movie's plot was about a person caught between family and being part of a community, based on a book. The original script was meant for Marlon Brando, but ended up with Elvis. Elvis had to learn fight scenes and even threatened to use his friend's Rolls-Royce to help him practice. He wasn't great at acting in serious roles, but he did all right in this film. Around this time, Elvis was also thinking about making more music, especially gospel songs. He released an album called His Hand in Mine, which did really well, selling over 1 million copies. Elvis had a deep love for gospel music and knew many of the songs by heart. He recorded this album quickly, often finishing songs in just 5 tries. Some of the songs were well known, like Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho, while others were less familiar to people outside the US. In 1960, besides making movies and music, Elvis was also influencing other artists. Johnny Bragg, who was in prison, got to perform with his band at a special event honoring Elvis. Even though Bragg got in trouble again later, Elvis tried to help him. This shows Elvis wasn't just a performer, but also someone who cared about fellow musicians. Johnny Cash, another big name in music, left Sun Records because he wanted more freedom to make music he wanted, like gospel albums. He went to Columbia and made Hymns by Johnny Cash. Elvis had a similar feeling with his Peace in the Valley EP. Both artists wanted to explore different types of music beyond just the popular hits.